The American Revolution, 1775 to 1783, was a pivotal event in which 13 American colonies sought independence from British rule. It began with tensions over taxes and governance, escalating into armed conflict at Lexington and Concord. Key moments include the Declaration of Independence, 1776, battles like Saratoga and Yorktown, and the Treaty of Paris, 1783, recognizing the United States as a sovereign nation. Influential figures include George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. The Revolution shaped the formation of the United States and its commitment to democratic principles. Some of the major events and outcomes of the American Revolution are: 1. Stamp Act of 1765. The Stamp Act of 1765 was a British parliamentary measure that imposed a direct tax on the American colonies by requiring them to pay a tax on every piece of printed paper they used. This included legal documents, newspapers, pamphlets, and even playing cards. The tax was intended to generate revenue to help cover the cost of maintaining British troops in the American colonies. However, it was met with strong resistance from colonists who believed that they should not be taxed without representation in the British Parliament. The opposition to the Stamp Act played a significant role in the lead-up to the American Revolution. The Stamp Act was eventually repealed in 1766, but its passage and subsequent repeal had lasting effects on colonial sentiments towards British taxation and governance. 2. The Boston Massacre of 1770. The Boston Massacre occurred on the evening of March 5, 1770, in Boston, Massachusetts, during a confrontation between British soldiers and a crowd of colonists. Tensions were high due to resentment over British presence and policies, including the Townshend Acts. The situation escalated, and British soldiers opened fire on the crowd, killing 5 colonists, including Crispus Attucks. The incident was highly politicized, with Patriot leaders like Samuel Adams using it as anti-British propaganda. The soldiers involved were put on trial, defended by John Adams, later the second U.S. president, and most were acquitted, though 2 were found guilty of lesser charges. The Boston Massacre intensified colonial opposition to British rule and contributed to the growing revolutionary sentiment in the years leading up to the American Revolution. 3. The Boston Tea Party of 1773. The Boston Tea Party occurred on December 16, 1773, as an act of protest by American colonists against British taxation without representation. In response to the Tea Act of 1773, which granted the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in the American colonies, colonists, dressed as Mohawk Indians, boarded 3 British ships in Boston Harbor: the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver. They proceeded to dump 342 chests of tea into the harbor as a defiant act against the Tea Act and British taxation policies. The participants, including figures like Samuel Adams and Paul Revere, aimed to resist what they saw as unjust taxation by the British government. The Boston Tea Party further escalated tensions between the American colonies and Britain and played a significant role in the events leading to the American Revolution. The First Continental Congress, 1774. The First Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia from September 5 to October 26, 1774. It was a gathering of delegates from 12 of the 13 American colonies, excluding Georgia, in response to the growing tensions with Britain, particularly in the aftermath of the Intolerable Acts. Delegates such as George Washington, John Adams, and Peyton Randolph convened to discuss grievances against British policies, especially those affecting colonial self-government. The Congress produced the Continental Association, a non-importation agreement, and addressed a petition to King George III seeking a redress of grievances. While it fell short of demanding independence, the First Continental Congress marked a crucial step toward unified colonial resistance and laid the groundwork for further action, eventually leading to the American Revolutionary War. 5. The Battles of Lexington and Concord of 1775. The battles of Lexington and Concord, fought on April 19, 1775, were the first military engagements of the American Revolutionary War. Tensions between the American colonists and British authorities had been escalating, and these battles marked a critical turning point. The conflict began in Lexington, Massachusetts, where British troops encountered colonial militia on the village green. The exact details are debated, but shots were fired, and the skirmish resulted in several American casualties. The British then proceeded to Concord, where they sought to seize military supplies. At Concord's North Bridge, another confrontation occurred, leading to more skirmishes between the British and colonial militia. The British eventually retreated to Boston, and along the way, they faced persistent attacks from local militias. The battles of Lexington and Concord galvanized colonial resistance and set the stage for the broader conflict that would become the American Revolutionary War. 6. The Declaration of Independence of 1776. The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, was a document proclaiming the 13 American colonies' separation from British rule. It was primarily drafted by Thomas Jefferson, with input from other members of the Continental Congress. The declaration was a culmination of rising tensions, including perceived injustices and violations of colonial rights by the British government. The document begins with a preamble asserting the natural rights of individuals and the right to rebel against oppressive government. It then lists specific grievances against King George III. The declaration concludes with a formal assertion of independence, declaring the 13 colonies as free and independent states. The signing of the Declaration of Independence marked a crucial step toward the establishment of the United States of America and its commitment to principles of self-governance and individual rights. 7. The Battles of Saratoga of 1777. The Battles of Saratoga, fought in the autumn of 1777, were a pivotal series of engagements during the American Revolutionary War. They took place near Saratoga Springs in upstate New York and are often considered a turning point in the conflict. The battles consisted of two main engagements, the Battle of Freeman's Farm on September 19, 1777, and the Battle of Bemis Heights, or the Second Battle of Saratoga, on October 7, 1777. American forces, commanded by generals like Horatio Gates and Benedict Arnold, faced British forces led by General John Burgoyne. The American victory at Saratoga is significant because it led to the surrender of Burgoyne's entire army on October 17, 1777. This event played a crucial role in gaining support from France, which formally allied with the American colonies, providing crucial military and financial assistance. The battles of Saratoga are often considered a turning point in the war, boosting American morale and influencing the course of the conflict. 8. The Articles of Confederation of 1781. The Articles of Confederation, adopted in 1777 and ratified in 1781, were the first Constitution of the United States. They served as the nation's governing document until the adoption of the current U.S. Constitution in 1789. The Articles aimed to create a confederation of sovereign states while maintaining their independence. Key features of the Articles of Confederation included: First, limited central authority. The central government was intentionally weak, with most powers retained by individual states. Second, unicameral legislature. The Confederation Congress had a single chamber, with each state having one vote. Third, lack of executive or judicial branch. There was no separate executive branch, and the judicial powers were limited. Fourth, financing challenges. The central government had difficulty raising revenue, as it relied on voluntary contributions from states. Fifth, amendment process. Changes to the Articles required unanimous consent, making amendments difficult to achieve. The weaknesses of the Articles, such as the inability to raise revenue and lack of a strong central authority, led to problems in governance and ultimately the push for a new constitution, resulting in the Constitutional Convention of 1787. 9. The Siege of Yorktown of 1781. The Siege of Yorktown in 1781 was a decisive military engagement during the American Revolutionary War. It took place from September 28 to October 19, 1781, in and around Yorktown, Virginia. The siege was a culmination of efforts by American and French forces against the British Army commanded by General Charles Cornwallis. Key elements of the Siege of Yorktown include 1. Encirclement. American forces, led by General George Washington, and French forces, commanded by General Rochambeau, converged on Yorktown, effectively surrounding Cornwallis and his troops. 2. Naval blockade. The French fleet, under Admiral de Grasse, played a crucial role by preventing British reinforcements or escape by sea. 3. Trench warfare. American and French forces initiated a successful siege with the use of trenches, artillery bombardment, and gradually closing in on the British positions. 4. British surrender. With their situation becoming untenable and no hope of relief, Cornwallis surrendered on October 19, 1781. The surrender marked the effective end of major military operations in the American Revolutionary War. The victory at Yorktown is often considered the turning point that led to the formal end of the war. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the independence of the United States from British rule. 10. The Treaty of Paris of 1783. The Treaty of Paris of 1783 was the agreement that officially ended the American Revolutionary War and established the terms for peace between the United States and Great Britain. The treaty was signed on September 3, 1783, and ratified by both parties in early 1784. Key provisions of the Treaty of Paris of 1783 included 1. Recognition of independence. Great Britain formally recognized the independence of the United States. 2. Territorial boundaries. The treaty established the boundaries of the United States, extending from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River and from Canada to Florida. 3. Fisheries. The treaty addressed fishing rights off the coast of North America, granting American fishermen access to certain British-controlled areas. 4. Repayment of debts. Both the United States and Britain agreed to honor pre-war debts owed to creditors in each other's countries. The Treaty of Paris marked the end of hostilities between the United States and Great Britain and laid the foundation for diplomatic relations between the two nations. It played a crucial role in shaping the early years of the United States as an independent nation. The American Revolution was a significant event in world history, as it inspired other movements for independence and democracy, and shaped the values and ideals of the American people. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below.